boy. He's from the little lower part of Virginia, that little piece of the Mark Peninsula that's down at the bottom. We like to call that the Painter area. Jay-Z met Glenn on a fishing trip, and Jay-Z, being as keened into people's accents as possible, as soon as he heard Glenn talk, he said, "Hey, where are you from?" And it was an automatic connection. We've been great friends since, been on some magnificent fishing trips. I always charter Glenn on my birthday to go offshore with my friends. We have an absolute blast. We have friends coming that moved away from here. They're still coming into town to sit there and go on fishing trips with Glenn. You won't find a better offshore captain in the Tampa Bay area. And I'd say that with Billy standing right here. And Billy would shake his head yes.
I think
Especially with Billy.
That'd be accurate.
He's standing here right now.
That'd be accurate.
I mean, that'd be 100% accurate.
Is it the truth?
Glenn's been on the water basically his entire life. He's been in Tampa Bay area for over 20 years. He knows these waters like the back of his hand. Anyone that's ever gone out of past the grill or anywhere like that, or you've run down the path towards Potter's Pier, you always have to be a little bit leery running that flat because sandbars pop out. Glenn will do it with one eye shut.
I don't know about that, but
Rolling through it. But it's always been a pleasure. This is your third time coming to talk, and I appreciate it greatly.
yeah, man, no.
Captain Glenn Taylor, guys.
Kind of feels like home, right? Kind of scary. I see everybody.
813.
Drink, huh? Feels like home.
813.
The 813. I do like the 727, but I want to thank everybody for attending. I'd like to give a special shout out to our most famous and, I'll just leave it at our most famous captain, Billy Nobles. I am here to, not proudly, I'm kind of upset that he can't make it tonight. Billy has the sniffles. And I know like Billy was like one of the founding fathers here of this great Southshore Anglers meeting, right?
Yeah.
He's a big rock star and all, and unfortunately Billy's not feeling well. And he was, but he's going to be a big part of the tournament. And,
Wait a minute. He has the sniffles? He must have been hugging Mike Anderson.
no, Mike's in too good a shape for that, no.
No, he's been sick for 3 weeks.
Anderson has.
Mike's been sick.
Yeah,
Anderson laid up in bed.
So, Mahoney, the oldest one in the group, you're running the show over there at the radio show, or, I mean, everybody sick? Huh?
No, they come, they've been there in and out. Mike's, he's been sick for a few weeks.
Right. And you haven't gotten it yet, huh? Clean living.
I'd stay away from him.
Really? I don't know how good Bill is. But he is, I mean, seriously, he's not feeling well. He wanted to be here tonight. This whole entire Mackeral tournament that we're having is with a dear friend of ours and his sick daughter. And I actually talked to Clay Everson today, and I got an update. His daughter was over in Atlanta yesterday back at the liver transplant hospital. She came back with a clean bill of health. Her blood was all good, so that was really good. Her issue is now, she's still got swelling in her belly. Have you guys ever watched, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas? Remember that, right? Mm-hmm. And little Cindy Lou Who had the little candy cane at night, the blonde hair and the blue eyes. That's exactly what Clay's daughter looks like. I mean, if you could just imagine a little girl, Cindy Lou Who, from The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, the little blonde hair and blue eyes, and she gets the big tear and all. That's his daughter. And she's cute as can be. She's been sick since the day she's born. She doesn't really know. I mean, she's over 2 years old now, and she just had a liver transplant. She doesn't even know what it's like trying to be a normal 2-year-old. I've had a few kids, and I don't know what a normal 2-year-old is, but she hasn't experienced that. She's had a liver transplant, and that went well. I talked to Clay today. He got, like we were talking earlier, the bills were paid for the operation, thank God, because, the amount of bills you go into the hospital and the aspirin's like $100. So that's been taken care of. But when they go up to like Atlanta, just yesterday, they spent 2 days up there. So they have to get a hotel room or some other place. And then the transportation, gas is like $3.50 or something like that a gallon. But unfortunately, he's being evicted from his house. And he said this meeting, and like we were talking about before, his demeanor is just awesome. But he is being evicted from his house. He gave the paperwork. They were doing some type of financing. You just talked about just piling on the guy. But he was doing some type of reloan or something. His lawyer had his papers, and his lawyer committed suicide, and he couldn't get to his papers. So his daughter needs a liver transplant. His papers, he's financially struggling and whatnot, and then his lawyer takes his own life, and then there's a case wrapped around that, and he can't get his papers. So he has to file bankruptcy, and he's at the point of going to be losing his house. But the blessing is that day, like May 3rd, is when he has to move out. So we're hoping that what we've raised will help him get a new place. He's got a few places picked out, but he needs, like, you know, before and after kind of like payments and stuff, and he needs to put a deposit on for electricity and stuff. So needless to say, the family's hurting, and it's a little girl, and I appreciate everybody that's going to go and participate in the tournament. And you know, there's some really nice prizes, Mike. I really appreciate that. And that's just really what this is about. And Steve just allowing us to be able to fund these funds over to Clay and his family. It's a big blessing for him. And he will be here for the tournament. His little daughter, maybe she'll be here. I don't know, depending on what her schedule is going up to the hospital. She has to go back to Atlanta once a month for the next 12 months to have checkups. And then after that, it's going to be periodic. So, but the tournament's going to be a mackerel tournament, huh? We're looking for big Spanish mackerel. You know, I always say when we're doing a tournament, it's a lot different than when we're just going out recreational fishing. Right? Normally when we're going recreational fishing, we want to catch a lot of fish. Right? That's always the thing. You want to brag on who catches the biggest fish, but the main thing is everybody bends a rod. On a tournament, it's just a little bit different. You know, you're looking for that. I guess we're looking for the 3 big fish in this tournament. That's a little unique. Leave it to the Hoffmans to put a little twist in the tournament. Yeah, better than a picture, right? I think that. Are you donating? I guess, what are we going to do? Measure the fish, and then they can take it over to hooks, and then they can cook it?
Tiger.
All right, so that's important. Make sure these guys measure your fish before you eat it. I mean, I hate to see somebody have the eating fish and go like, golly. I can see Billy Nobles doing that kind of. I was thinking about this whole meeting. I was like, if it wasn't so dear to our hearts and Clay's little daughter wasn't such an angel, we could turn this whole entire meeting into a Billy Nobles roast. Because I'm sure everybody in this table, somebody at each table, I'm sure has a Billy Nobles story to tell. Mike, I'm sure you've been with me there. So, but we won't do it just because of the respect that I have for the Hoffmans. Oh, I could give one. Like when we're going to the middle grounds in this yellowfin, brand new. We go 46 miles in the wrong direction before I'm like, Billy, man, we're not going to the middle grounds, heading southwest, buddy. Not Adam Pass the Grill. Oh, it's okay, buddy, I got these new electronics. 46 miles in the wrong direction. That was one of the stories. He wants to be there. All right, back to mackerel fishing. You know, Tiger, you say that they're easy to catch, right? And they are catchable because we can catch them where on the flats. We can catch them off the beach.
I mean,
catch them everywhere.
On this side of the bay, I mean, the easiest thing is to get in the shipping channel, get next to some structure, get next to one of the markers, have a chum bag out, catch a bunch of greenbacks.
Free line.
And you're going to free line your bait. But the thing to it is the tackle that you're going to use. You're going to go up to Mahoney's and get some of the long shank,
That's right.
number 2 hooks with as light of a leader as you can possibly go on them. Because their eyesight is impeccable. And they'll see there, if you're using 20, 25-pound leader, they're going to see it and you're not going to get a bite. So you want to scale all the way back to maybe even 15 pounds, 10 pounds a leader.
We're paying Taylor for this. Why are you giving the...
Joe, come on. You're doing awesome, man. Don't stop. Done some mackerel fishing over here. Come on.
I know where you get it from. It's okay.
That long shank hook is key.
Yeah, the long shank hook is key. I mean, does everybody basically know the basic setups, I guess, for mackerel fishing? I mean, we know they're kind of fairly easy to catch. I mean, one of Tiger's favorite fish. And he can tell you exactly how to catch them.
No
But, I mean, anybody, shooter back there, you know how to catch a mackerel?
I'd like to hear some advice.
Some advice.
Yeah,
Like maybe where I would fish if I was fishing for the biggest mackerel.
I mean, you are the man.
I can tell you where I'll be fishing, depending on the conditions, of course. It's the Skyway Bridge. I mean, every mackerel that I've caught, 5 to 7 pounds, up to 9 pounds, normally are coming from me free lining thread fins for tarpon. You know, 60, 80-pound leader, giant 7-aught hook, and a big, big pilchard, and all of a sudden I'm getting like a 7-pound mackerel. I mean, and you don't get many bites, but we're looking for 3 bites. So if you scale down, me, I'm going to be probably anchored up with a whole chest full of thread fins, and I'm going to snip them, and I'm going to chum heavy. And then I get my long shanked hook, I put it inside that snip piece of bait, free line, that's so important, guys. You know, you're sitting there, you're chumming hard, and you can be chumming with live baits, but the dead baits to me, the dead baits at the Skyway and a long shanked hook, and I know people say dead baits, produces the biggest fish. At least in my, I don't know if I'm doing it right, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, it's the way I catch fish, But a dead bait on a long shank, that hook buried in there, and an open bail, what we call like a drag-free drift. I'm sitting there chumming. And if you can catch your your thread fins the day before and chop them up, maybe if you have your son do it. I told my son if he would sell like chopped up thread fins from May through like August, he probably make more money than all of us combined. But do that and get your baits if you can. You can keep them refrigerated. So you're not messing with the baits the morning of your tournament. I mean, we are going for mackerel, so you can certainly go out there and get your live baits if you're going early and whatnot. We have a beginning time, 6 o'clock, something like that.
As soon as we're done with the captain meeting, you can do whatever you want to do.
That night.
Yes.
So if you guys are hardcore, you can go catch them that night. But it's really, really nice. I know a lot of the tarpon fishermen that are fishing off the beaches, they have their shad and their other cut baits the night before. So when they're out there fishing, your whole entire time is devoted. Because this time, you know what, I mean, we're trying to catch the biggest fish and we have a certain amount of time. And you think, man, I have 6 hours for this tournament. It's not like that. I mean, it really does. I mean, it just flies by. Now, that's if the perfect conditions are there. I'd be at the bridge. It can get rough at the bridge. Most of you guys are in a flats boat, right? Maybe a small bay boat. You know how rough the bridge can get. So if the conditions come in, like some of your redfish tournament, it's been beautiful the whole 2 weeks before the redfish tournament, the longest redfish tournament. Night before we have a northeast wind come in, northwest, 30 knots, changes your game plan. So then you have to have like game plan B, right? So game plan A, I'd be at the Skyway. I'd be using dead baits. If you get the big pilchard, you can use the big. Everybody know what a pilchard? White bait, right? Long shank hook. Everybody's kind of familiar. One of the tricks for me, instead of using wire, if you get bit off, I like to get 2 long shank hooks together. That works really well for me, and I like to get a jig head. And I got one of the rods here.
You need some props. I got some hooks.
Yeah. With a long shank. I want to do great crawfish.
Is this a long shank hook? No.
Captain Larry Malinowski obviously catches bigger fish than I do. My boy brings me a box of mustads that are 25 odd, quality of 100. I don't know if I'll be using this hook right here for mackerel fishing, but
grounds, baby.
Maybe grouper fishing or something. I don't know. But this is the long shank hook, and we just use obviously a smaller diameter and a smaller. When I'm doing the live baits or if I'm doing the chunk baits, the rod I prefer is a very flimsy tip. Those mackerel come in at like 20 miles an hour, nicknamed like the spotted speedster. They got a lot of other nicknames, especially if you're fly fishing, they cut your fly up. You call them a lot of different things. But here's my rig, 16th ounce, quarter-ounce jig head. I like to bury that in. The reason I like doing that, I've got my chum going, and I got the pieces. I like to put a bigger piece on this, and then I like to drop this down and have it sink, which tends to be the smaller fish are on top, bigger fish are on the bottom. So if I can get my piece, it goes down, but it's still going out natural with the drag-free drift. And I'm telling you, fellas, 99% of my bites are coming like this, bail open. And all of a sudden you see that line just screaming, close the bail, and then reel on down. But when you do that, you want to have a flexible tip. I mean, you don't want that bait to come ripping out. Just the opposite on if you're using artificial, and I'll talk about that at the very end. But that's what I would do. Big dead piece of bait, I'll chum hard. I get my baits the night before, cut them all up so you're not busy with doing all that, so you can maximize the fishing time. If the weather is not fit to fish the Skyway Bridge, depending if it's an east wind, I'm going to be off the beach. And I'm especially going to be looking off the beach and trying to scope it out the day before that, where bait schools are.
Yeah, we have to be inside Egmont.
You got to be inside of Egmont, so we have a rule. So I would not be off the beach.
No, unless you're cheating and can live with yourself.
Yes, all right. So we have a rule on this one, huh? Inside the beach. Well, I was going to fish the Skyway, so I'm good at the Skyway.
You're good at the Skyway.
What about the pass there? You can fish the pass of Egmont?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can fish the pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you're on the inside
On the
part.
inside of
Yep.
that thing. Okay.
We'll be watching.
All right, so today the beach is out because we got a strong
Right.
northwest wind.
Coast
We
Guard
don't
works
wanna
for
cheat.
Southshore Anglers.
We don't want to cheat the Southshore Anglers. Next place I'd fish then, I would fish a flat, a cut through the flat. Everybody ever heard of like the clam bar? Got kind of like a famous cut that comes through there. It's a little bit deeper. You have your normal flats that are like 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, and then the deeper parts of that, 3 to 7 foot. And then if you have a cut, like the clam bar, going through there, that's a great place. And when you're looking for it on the flats, right, if you're not on the bridge too, tide flow, right? Incoming, outgoing, doesn't matter really for the mackerel, but you do need a tide flow. So that's another important part too. If you guys are fishing and you have the plan A, plan B, okay, plan A is I'm going to the Skyway, I'm going to try to catch my fish on the incoming. We're going to have that slack tide. Maybe the bite was great, you want to stay on the outgoing, maybe the bite wasn't as good as you thought. On that slack tide period, then make your move, right? I mean, don't run during the prime conditions, like 2 hours before the end of the incoming, and you're, going to plan B right in the middle. Because plan A might work out, but it didn't work out on your time, but it worked out on the fish's time. You got there at daybreak, and they didn't bite until the last 2 hours of the incoming, so if there was an incoming tide all morning. If you know the fish are there, good place, a lot of bait, right? They're going to turn on. Whether or not it's on your time or their time, they will turn on, and hopefully you're there and ready for it. But if it doesn't, run during your slack periods of tides, because I know Tampa Bay here, man, tides play a major role. What's our moon? Anybody look that far ahead? Anybody know what the moon is?
We're on the upswing right now.
Can be.
Full moon is probably.
Let's make blood moon on Saturday.
Saturday night's a blood
Yeah.
moon.
I mean, the moons play effect, right? I mean, all these things you really want to take in consideration. The bait supply that you're going to be able to get, right? The winds, which direction they're coming out of. Have your game plan set. But let me tell you something. If you don't, somebody else will. And it's how well you perform and execute that game. It's like I'm saying, the tournament's a lot of fun, but the bragging, I mean, when you win. Anybody ever won one here? You won a trout tournament, right? Anybody else win a tournament?
Yeah, I won the Spanish Mackeral tournament 4
You
years
did?
ago.
Pretty good feeling, isn't it?
I don't know, you have to ask him.
Yeah. Good feeling, isn't it? Yeah. So I mean, I guess I'm not. I don't know. I'm getting a lot older, but I was raised where there's winners and losers. They keep score and whatnot. That's the way I'm raising my kids. I kind of like to keep score. I like to know, and it seems like most of the captains out there, we kind of have just a little tiny ego, and we like to compete. And there's nothing that makes you have your stomach in, shoulders back, chest out to winning a tournament. I mean, look at King of the Beach when the guy puts the crown. Doesn't matter the 10,000 or the 20,000. I mean, that helps, but you're going to spend that anyway. But the guy wearing the crown at the King of the Beach, I mean, you're feeling pretty good. And that's the same thing as the South Shore. So it's a little different, I mean, these guys are going to be gunning. Get your baits early, especially if you can go out at midnight. I mean, that's hardcore. I can't do that anymore. I'm not going to get out that late. Whenever. When's the captain's meeting over? Ty?
Probably over with about 8:30.
8:30. I can tell you guys, I don't do much mackerel fishing at night. Maybe the bite is the best time at night. I don't do it at night. Normally it's morning, and then the last 2 hours of the incoming and the first 2 hours of the outgoing. It's just typical fish feeding. Anybody have any questions up to this point now?
The birds.
Birds? Yeah. You see a lot of them in the bay? Yeah.
Birds. Yeah, they dive on the baits.
Yeah, it catches the birds.
And I will say one thing that I've noticed with my fishing is when I'm using my dead baits and I'm chunking my baits out, I really don't like to put them out whole. I like to either rip them in half or I like to cut them. Like I say, especially if you can do it beforehand. Because I think it's just natural for a fish, whether it's a grouper on the bottom or a snapper or a kingfish or a Spanish mackerel, they'll see a fish that's cut in half by a different fish, and that fish is falling. And it's just a predatory reaction. It's a strike. It looks natural to them. I don't know if a big fish just dead floating down. You get bit on that, but not as well.
Hey, and the other thing though, when you're cutting bait, you don't just use regular scissors. Make sure you go to Mahoney's and you get the special bait cutting scissors.
What are they? What's the name of those?
I can't remember now. In my life.
What's that?
Whiskers.
Whisker scissors. They can do everything. They can cut baits, cut braid. I'm a professional fisherman. No, I don't like this all tricks. But nobody has any questions. I will tell you, I'll recap a little bit about the last 10 days of fishing. I've been out 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 days. The only time I could not get out was this Friday and this past Saturday. If you guys saw the front that came through. I actually had 3 friends. God love Facebook. It's a great thing and it's a bad thing. But I connected with 3 friends of mine that I haven't seen in 36 years. Middle school. Last time we saw each other was 8th grade middle school. We all graduated. We were going through a little academy school. And then my parents sent me off to a boarding Catholic school. I really needed it.
That worked out for you.
Yeah, I'm here as a charter captain, right? So that's my whole point. So I go off to a boarding school, right? A private boarding school up in Baltimore. And God, my day, that was a tough left school. And my other guys, they broke free, and we haven't seen each other. They come back down on this Friday. Well, I'm sitting there kind of bragging. I'm a charter captain down here in Florida. Big difference between a fishing guide and a charter captain. And, you know, I like always to say that. And so I said, fellas, what are you guys doing? Well, my first friend, Glenn Neal, he's a bomb demolition expert for Washington, D.C. Right? He's the guy that comes in if there's a bomb and it's going to blow up, you know, our president. He comes in and he's shaking like this, trying to put a bait on it, and all, and he's looking over his shoulders. I said, Glenn, they must pay you a lot of money. My boy has no nerves left, no nails, not a hair. When I last saw this kid had a big old blonde hair, big braces and stuff. He didn't have a drop of hair on him. My other friend was Gwaltney. Gwaltney Meats. His company really rose up, and he did like 12 years of NASCAR racing, and now he's got this big Cadillac dealership, and I'm like, I'm not feeling so big right now. I'm coming down. And then my last guy, man, that came from a little island, Tangier Island, where there's a population of like 300, and the family tree has no branches. It doesn't split anywhere. My boy's a rocket scientist, and I'm like, he develops these weather rockets. So I take him out. We go. We can't go fishing, so we take him out, and they're out of like the bar, the beach bar, and they're talking to a couple girls. Of course, he's single. He's never at home. He travels. So the girls go, well, what do you do for a living? And he goes, well, I'm a rocket scientist. And they're like, okay, I've heard it all. But the cool part about it is all they wanted to do was come down to Florida and fish with me. And they were like, you have the job that I wish I had. And I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, I mean, one's a rocket scientist. You know, one's a bomb demolition expert. And I don't know if I'd want his job. And the other guys have done a real good job in NASCAR. So the week that we've been fishing, a lot of snapper. I mean, a tremendous lot of snapper. The blackfin tuna bite has probably been the highlight of the last probably 10 days. We're catching 3 to 5 blackfins on my last 3 or 4 trips, nice fish, up to like 30 pounds. I was able to take my kids out on Tuesday, and I have a quick story too. I have my daughter's sweet 16th birthday party on Friday, and she's being set up, and it's on the beach. So I'm going over with my son and one of his friends. They can only spend like an hour at the buffet, and then they have to leave the sweet 16th birthday party. So my boys that just came in town, they come up on my cell phone as unavailable, right? Because they've got a weird phone number. So I'm driving over with my son. I put it on speakerphone. Unavailable comes up, and I'm like, yo, where you guys at? I'm heading over to the party, and it's like, excuse me, is this Captain Glenn? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were somebody else. He goes, no, that's okay. He goes, I'm Brian Cashman of the New York Yankees. And he goes, I was wondering if you were available on this Tuesday to go fishing. And my son is sitting there, and he doesn't hear anything of who he is and whatnot. He's like, no, sorry, sir. Dad's booked. He's taking me and my friends. I'm sorry. He's already got the trip. And Brian, I've got this on speakerphone. My son is 12 years old, and he's telling Brian Cashman of the Yankees, no, sorry, you can't take him. He's taking me and my 3 friends out. Or it was actually 4 12-year-olds I took out on Tuesday. And Mr. Cashman says, okay, I see. And he says, well, thank you for your time, and I'll be looking forward to fishing you the next time. So just a little, I thought that was kind of fun. 12-year-old had no idea who he was talking to.
Family first.
So, but we went out, we had a good time. We caught 3 blackfins on Tuesday, caught a bunch of big snapper.
Talk to us about the blackfin catch, man. How you doing that?
You know, it's been weird. They first came in. We had a push of them come in about 2 weeks ago, and the sharks weren't behind them. And the blackfins, depending, it got warm real quick, and then with this cold front, it's been awesome because it's lowered the temperature out. I think it stopped the migration of all the fish. I mean, last week I did 3 cobia. The biggest one was 70 pounds. We did like 2 50s in that 70-pound cobia. So I knew the migration was on, and we had the blackfins. And then they were gone as soon as the temperature dropped. But we didn't have the sharks that followed. And normally the big push, I mean, we get a real big push of blackfins coming through our area. The big sharks are behind them. The bull sharks, the lemon sharks, they're all over those fish. We didn't have it. So last week we were out there, and I'm in 90 feet southwest, and on some crunchy bottom out there, and I'm chumming, and we just see the blackfins just boiling all around, and we're just throwing baits, and I mean, just
40 miles an hour.
Yesterday's bite was unbelievable. Malsky, I saw you. You boys had a good bite. The bite was on yesterday.
Yeah, the snapper were real good.
Yeah,
I was
snapper.
not out but about 10, 12 miles. Snapper were excellent. Hogfish were all over the place.
Yeah.
Mike was with me. And he caught them left and right. Every time we turn around, snapper in a box. Jesus, man.
And you guys caught some nice sized ones out there?
Yeah, nothing real big.
Yeah.
Good sized fish. Prouder snapper than I went to find it today.
And you found some kingfish there?
Yeah, they bit me off, and they bit
Yeah.
a few times, but I didn't reach target them, but they were there.
I didn't see any king. 90 feet I was fishing, I didn't get a kingfish bite, but 90 feet we smoked the blackfins. So that's interesting that.
Yeah, the kings were in, they were around, 9 and 10 out.
Yeah, 40 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And
you know what?
Snapper everywhere.
What I'm doing with the blackfins, 6-foot leader, 40-pound test, 5/0 circle hook, and a big white bait or a Spanish sardine. That's what I'm using. I mean, it's not really. When they show up, they show up.
420, so hopefully they're sticking around.
I hope so. But I'll tell you one thing, we're going right there.
420. I don't know who picked that date, but
What, the 420 day?
yeah.
What was the day after? These guys, they're unbelievable. I have a friend that comes down from Chicago, and she owns a food truck. It's called the Yum Dum Food Truck, and it's like a famous food truck. She's won like 3 years in a row, the best food truck wars and all, and I guess that's a pretty good accomplishment. Well, they want to do some like Fred fishing.
Bayou fishing.
Well, yeah, they want to do some bayou. Well, we together bayou
Yeah,
fishing.
the bayou.
We're gonna go fishing bayou. Shooter's got a real nice grading white, south in your mouth, southern living. What is it?
You're on it.
Southern flavor.
Southern flavor.
So we get side by side. I've got my charter. I've got these two lovely ladies and their son. Their son goes to Eckerd College, and that's how he got up with me fishing. I've been fishing probably for like 5 years. Seems like his son's been in school like I was 7 years. But I've been fishing for forever. But so we got over there. They're right side by side. And I asked them. I said, "Girls, do you mind if we, buddy fish?" And they're like, "No, more." But these guys are drinking Bloody Marys and stuff, handing Bloody Marys over boat to boat and whatnot. They got Eileen Chin, who owns the Yum Dum truck from Chicago, to come down to do the steam cooking for these guys over
Yeah,
at this
helping me.
crawfish festival. And I'm just like, with that segue, man, why don't you come on up? Anybody have any questions or anything like
We
that?
didn't talk about permit.
Permit. Oh, what about permit? I didn't mention any permit.
Secrets out.
Yeah, the secret's out. They're here. Golly day, they're here. That Tuesday when I took my son out and we caught all them blackfins and whatnot, we started in the morning, and I normally never start in the morning looking for those fish. I'd rather sight cast to them when I see them on the surface. But we had like a southwest wind coming at us, and that's the direction I was having, and I had 4 kids on the boat. So I was like, let's just pull the throttles back and let's look for permit first. So what I like to do is go snapper, tuna fishing, get all that out of the way, and then when the sun's way high in the air, then I like to go and look for my permit. And so I had to do it different, but the bite's been so good, it really worked out. We got like 2 40-pounders and like 3 15-pounders. It was a great. I couldn't see them, because it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, so I couldn't see them finning. I couldn't see them really swimming, but we hooked up almost every drift that we made, and we were fishing a ledge. And that's the one thing I will tell you, the one little secret. When they first come in from the south, they get on those ledges. Everybody thinks wrecks and different areas, but they get on ledges first, and I'm not sure. The reason why I think they get on the ledge is I think the crabs and the other baits that they're looking for is already there, and then after we have these new and full moon tides in the bay and whatnot, and the crabs start flowing, and they're flowing out of Tampa Bay, and those crabs are everywhere, then I think the crabs are sticking to wrecks, and then they're sticking to shoals and whatnot. It's been my experience when I'm looking for my early season permit in early March, I'm looking on the ledges, and they have not disappointed. It was so nice because I was like 10 miles out, and then my snapper spot was 20 miles out, and the snapper and the blackfins have been in the same area. So we can hit all the different types of fish, on one trip. So that's what I've been doing. Snapper, blackfin, and then running in. If we see the permit, we stay. If not, we just blow right on bottom. So I am offering a permit trip. Everybody buy the raffle tickets? Who hasn't bought a raffle ticket? Let's go permit fish. I'm on Dave Ramirez. Did you dig deep, man, to get a raffle ticket? But that's the only way you get out fishing with me, man. Buy that raffle ticket. Come on. Mahoney, how many do you buy? I know you want to.
I want to go next week.
You want to go?
I'm sick of listening to it. The raffle's not soon enough. How about next week?
I am. I don't think I have it. My first day.
For a half day.
It's so good right now. It's unbelievable. I can't even say it with a straight face. The permit bite is that good. We've been trying to keep it low key. Not many people do it, and it's hard because you have to have the right baits. You have to crab, shrimp, a fly, a well-placed fly. Anybody throw a long rod? Really works well. I've used shrimp patterns extremely well on the permit, and the crab pattern doesn't work at all. I don't know why. Now, the exact opposite when I'm tarpon fishing on the fly, the crab pattern and, you know, a toad, a tarpon toad works well, but a shrimp pattern doesn't get bit. But, they're chilling. Man, we'll see what we can do, but I am slammed up. But I always have room for Mahoney. I remember when we were kids, man, you and I would make a deal out in the truck. Now we're going out there and I'm buying like Furuno depth finders and stuff, man. We've kind of grown up. The old deal in the back of the truck in the back, man, it's all depth finders and whatnot. But I appreciate you bringing my equipment up for me. Well, that's awesome,
And
man.
we'll tell everybody on air about the permit showing up. You'll reach a few more people.
Yeah, when they get on there, yeah. They've been here though, solid 5 weeks. I mean, we were catching them late in February. So, I mean, you know, it's hard to do it when you have all the kingfishers. You know, they're everywhere, trolling treble hooks with giant blue runners, scaring everybody away and whatnot. So it's tough. The fish definitely pattern more after the kingfish run is over, because you just don't have all the guys going out there on every wreck and every ledge, you know, looking for kingfish. Because every single weekend is a tournament. So you got 300 extra boats running right in your sweetheart area. So, no, well, any other questions at all before we get on? Yes, sir.
You were talking about finding a bait, like I fish out of a kayak, I mean, and you know, sometimes for me to go a mile is an hour.
Yeah, right, especially if you're going against the
I mean,
current.
is there anything for spotting the bait?
Well, in your situation, I wouldn't even go with bait. And that's one of the things that's nice about the mackerel. I would go with an artificial. Because unlike, you know, the mackerel and the king mackerel, right, Spanish mackerel, king mackerel, or cousins, or whatever their gene is, it's the opposite. When I'm looking for a big smoker kingfish, really the only time I ever catch a big fish is on a natural live bait. Maybe sometimes dead, maybe a dead value. But very, very rarely do I catch a fish more than 15 pounds, I'd say, on like a spoon or a plug. The opposite is true of the mackerel. Not only do I catch really nice fish, I mean, you catch really big fish on the artificials. And there's guys that are sitting out there and they're looking for the birds, like they were saying, on the edges of the flats. You have a big advantage if it's rough. You got a bad disadvantage if it's not rough. Because I'm telling you, the biggest mackerel in our bay is at the Skyway. You've got to be one bad big fish if you're going to live at that bridge. Currents, everything wants to eat you. Everybody's trying to catch you. I mean, you got to be a big fish, man, to live at that out there. But if it's breezy, you got a real good advantage. And you know, when are you going to toss those little, I mean, what are they, gotcha plugs?
Yeah.
Right? They bulletproof. Treble hooks, be careful. Right? Any of those hard Doc's goofy jigs, I call a load on. I like that gotcha plug because it's kind of long and they don't bite you off. You know, 30-pound test. But live bait for you is tough, but you don't need it. So, but if you do, try to, you know, almost would be worth it for you to go to like the Skyway Pier and catch them on a sabiki the day before and have them in your kayak and get next to a channel. I mean, if I was gonna bait in your situation, I wouldn't use my kayak to get the bait. I'd use my car. So, you know, they're dead.
It's a lot easier.
A lot easier, a lot cheaper, and plus you're gonna be stroking all day the next day.
Right.
So you don't want to, you know, wear yourself out catching baits. And that was a big point. I mean, a lot of people go out there and they get their baits while they're fishing and whatnot. Try to have all that, you know, taken care of. Now, it's hard to have the live bait taken care of, but at least have your dead baits. But who wants to be the designated clipper? You know?
Especially with whisker scissors.
I mean, who wants to be the guy that's cutting a chunk for everybody? While everybody else is going for $1,000, you know, T.A. Mahoney raffle. I mean, nobody wants that. Have your baits kind of set off. I mean, it's a tournament, right? Anybody else have a question?
Crabs for your permit.
Yes, sir.
How do you get them?
How do you get them?
There's probably everybody sitting there going,
A net.
It's not easy. It's not for everybody.
Ask Schuster about that first trip we took off for that
What was
gag
that?
trip for Tiger's birthday about 3 years ago. When
3
we tried
years.
to catch that crab with the net and almost lost the rod on Billy's boat.
It always
Oh,
lost.
we were on Billy's boat. We were on Billy's boat. I don't remember that. That might be a reason we were on Billy's boat.
You were there.
Yeah.
You saved Rick's life because you grabbed his belt. You grabbed his
Look,
belt. He was
listen.
gone.
Rick, were you leaning over too far? Yeah. I kind of remember that barely. But, yeah. Where do I get my crabs? You know, I've got a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, and boy, we dip, and I save them. You know, I'm kind of fortunate to have a house on the water, where I can have a crab motel and I collect my crabs. And, shrimp work though. I mean, crabs are great, but shrimp at this time right now, before all the blue runners, and the blue runners are showing, I mean, they're coming. But before all those spot tails of blue runners get on your ledges and stuff really, really thick in the big pinfish, the shrimp work great on a jig head. I mean, everything eats a shrimp if you can't get your crabs. Boca Graham, that guy, Billy's buddy down there, we just bought 200 from him before he went on vacation, whatever that guy's name is. So you can get them, but it's not easy, let me tell you. Best way to get them is, dip them yourself. Low tide. I mean, we do it every which way to get the crabs. I probably have 200 right now, and it took me, every day, 2 hours looking for them, nonstop. All I'm doing, the wife's like, oh, you're looking for crabs? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I went through 35 crabs yesterday. So you're going through, when the bite's right, so, but that's it. Crabs are tough. Find them where you can. Big crab, dead crab, small crab. Talk about crabs. What about crawfish?
What about crawfish?
All right,
Yeah,
guys. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right,
I'm looking forward to it. And we're fishing right now.
Yeah, Captain Glenn's coming, and let me just go ahead and give you these now, man, so I don't forget. That's 4 right there.
Oh,
You need more?
No, I think 4 will do. There's nothing better than presents, getting presents. Doesn't have to be big,
No.
Anything out of an envelope
Listen,
is greatly
the
appreciated.
stuff you taught me, man,
Yeah.
I can't give you enough crawfish tickets.
I appreciate it.
I've had the privilege, about 3 years ago I met Tiger about 5 years ago, but I had the privilege to fish with Glenn. I lost count now, but it's been awesome, man. He's, well, let me pull out these tickets. Anybody in here not know about bearing? You don't know about bearing. Like when you get to a fishing spot and you drop your anchor down, what is your bearing? Anybody not know? And it's not a bad question. I just want to know. Anybody not know? Because I want them to know. Because I learned that from Glenn about 3 years ago. Anybody?
I'll admit
Don't
it.
know about bearing? All right, I'm gonna teach you real quick. And this is something, man. Y'all can come down to the Crawfish Festival. It's a fundraiser. Those tickets are $15 a piece, but I'm glad you were honest, and I'm gonna teach you for a minute because I learned something from this guy.
You're talking about an anchor bearing? Is that what your
Anchor-
Louisiana
Anchor
accent
bearing.
is saying there?
Yeah, bearing. Not the bearing on your trailer. Like on the wheels.
Not a wheel
No,
bearing.
No, no.
Then you gotta get the right bearing.
Your anchor bearing. Yeah, no, it's not about the bearing on your wheel. But when you get out there and you drop your anchor down, if you don't know where you're gonna land, you're trying to find a spot. I got one of the simplest garments. It's a 445S, not a big deal. But I get out there and I know where the spot. I figure out where the spot is. The bottom, everything, valves on the pipeline, the whole thing. And if you don't know how to land on that spot or somewhere close to it, so that when you drop your bait down and your lines, you're not fishing on that spot. If you don't know where your bearing is, you got to do that first when you get there. And Glenn taught me that, man, and I appreciate it. And just wanted to share that with you. So when you go fishing, you know what he did? Last time we went, he was talking about bayou fishing. We got out there together, and he said, "Hey, Schuster, y'all need to find the anchor bearing, because he don't want to drop his anchor down and like have to pull it up. And once you find that number, you on your compass, you have to know that number, and it changes throughout the day, but pretty slight. So anyway, just want to take a second tonight, guys, to talk about the Crawfish Festival. I'm from South Louisiana. Another question: anybody know the parish? There's a couple parishes down there on the southwest corner. If you don't know anything about parishes, if you can guess what parish I'm from, first one, you get 2 tickets. Nope.
Desire.
Talk to me.
What parish he's from?
What parish is he from? Coonville.
I'm gonna give you 3. I'm gonna give you 3 names, and you can. Anybody wants to guess one? There's Cameron Parish, which is the parish that borders Texas, down in the left corner of the boot, and then there's a parish right next to it Anybody?
Hold up there.
Homa.
Lafayette Parish? Right around that Lafayette area? Anybody?
Pierre.
All right, it's Vermilion Parish. It's a small, it's the heart of Cajun country. What's that?
Vermilion.
Yeah, Vermilion. Anybody been there?
Dade County.
Has anybody
have.
been to Vermilion? You've been to Vermilion. Tiger actually, man, is leaving on Thursday morning, the 16th, and flying into New Orleans. He's gonna rent a car, drive over to Vermilion Parish, a little town called Abbeville, and pick up 2,000 pounds of crawfish for us. So he's gonna go over there, and then we're gonna follow him back. And on Saturday, we're gonna cook all 2,000 pounds. I make
4
crawfish
hours.
etouffee, chicken and sausage gumbo, red beans and rice. We have hamburgers and hot dogs. For the kids, if you bring a non-perishable food item, we donate them. You can we'll get a free hot dog. And jambalaya, we have jambalaya too. So come out, and if you guys want tickets, I still have a few left to get rid of.
Where's this at?
It's at Winthrop Plaza on Bloomingdale.
Corner of Bloomingdale and Providence, right all in Brandon.
I know where it's at.
Right there behind, was it the Egg and I?
Yeah, Egg and
The barn?
Chichio Cali's.
What day?
April 18th.
18th.
It's two Saturdays from this weekend.
You end up with a nice about 2.5 pound, 3 pound box of crawfish that are cooked by me.
Tiger.
Even though Mike takes credit for it on TV. We've refined, this is our 5th year? 5th year. We refined this to, we have a 15 burner gas burner setup. 2 pots of corn, 2 pots for potatoes. Rest of the pots except 1 are all crawfish, and then we have 1 big pot for the etouffee and then the gumbo. Or the others. And the rest of it is we're just sitting there cooking those crawfish as fast as possible. When I fly, this will be my 2nd year going out there and picking up those crawfish.
He's gonna see my mom on Thursday.
Yeah. They're going to be as fresh as you can possibly get, because when I pick them up, they are no more than 30 minutes out of the water from being pulled out. And they're all popping. And as soon as I sit there and pick them up, we load up about probably 50 pounds of a seasoning called swamp dust, which is probably just as good as Old Bay, if not better. But we've mixed the swamp dust, we mixed Old Bay, some Tony's. It's Mike's own little secret recipe, and I got to be careful because sometimes I over-season and Mike gets all bent out of shape. But it is a really good time. We're going to have live Cajun bands out there. We're going to have some other country artists are going to be out there. It's a huge, Mackenzie Ray's going to be out there. If you guys don't know, she's a local celebrity country artist. But it's a huge expo. A lot of businesses are going out there supporting us. They're going to sit there and have their booths set up. But please come out. The food has gotten to the point where the news station comes out and does an interview with Mike, and Mike acts like he's cooking the entire time. And all Mike does is just stand around and be like, yeah,
I'm just smart, Tiger.
yeah. So what does that make me, a pawn?
You got help though. You got help this year.
Yeah, we got help.
Yum Dum's gonna be there helping you. My buddy from Pennsylvania is coming in. I'm bringing people from all parts of the country to help you when you complain.
Really? Because you stand around. Look, Mike literally just stands around all day. Hey, you need a Corona? Hey, you need a Corona? Hey, you need to change out that water. Hey, you need to change out that water. You're putting too much seasoning on the crawfish. You ain't putting enough seasoning on the crawfish. I'm like, dude, you seriously gonna do it on your own?
Everybody needs a good coach.
Yeah.
See, man.
But we do have a great time. It all goes for a good cause.
Echo Kids Place.
There's about 4 or 5 different charities that we do the Crawfish Festival for that we end up donating the money back to. It has gotten to be where people are coming up to us Rotary members saying, when is the Crawfish Festival? When is the Crawfish Festival? We don't even have to go out there and ask anymore, hey, do you want to come sponsor us and have a booth? It's within 2 weeks of us putting it out there saying, hey, we're selling it, all 30 spots were gone, like that quick. The only thing we're trying to do now is making sure we get enough people to sit there and buy all the crawfish that we're getting. Because it is an absolute ridiculous fun time. It's family oriented. No one gets out of hand. We're going to have Pippin comes out there with the beer truck. They have a draft beer truck they bring out there. It's got like, what is it, how many taps are on there? Like 15 taps are on there. So they're going to have all the Anheuser-Busch products are going to be out there. They're going to have sodas for the kids. They have a sangria station. They have a wine tasting station, the whole 9 yards. So it is a really good, fun time. So if you guys get a chance to on that day, come out. But definitely buy your tickets before you get there, because when you get there and you buy your ticket, we can't guarantee the fact that you're going to have it, because those 2,000 pounds go quick. And when I say we cook them in 4 hours, in 4 hours, 2,000 pounds is gone.
Anybody really like crawfish in here?
Yeah. I love them.
They are unbelievable good.
As much as time goes on, this is it, I was going to do. And he eats it.
Love it, love it. We love them.
Everybody?
Chocolate? Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Pop, you got anything?
Fishing stories.
Fishing stories. That's what I'm talking about. Please fire away.
Took my
We have time to fill, so you're good.
Let him go last.
not far from the tree. I'm going to take that chance.
Here, here.
I took my former buddy, Jim Clark, fishing last Wednesday.
Former?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Jim
right.
took advantage of the pick whatever you want to pick for fish, and he got the count, even though three of the fish. Well, let's see. What were you? One fish away from a trash can slam. What was it? I didn't have it. Okay. Anyway, the cool part of it is in the whole mix. We had a great day on the water. First time we've been on the water since December, and had a big time. And one of the dead sticks, call it 27.5-inch, stood that I happened to be standing next to. Jim's misfortune was when that pole went off for him, it was a 22, 23-inch catfish. Beautiful catfish, keeper catfish. It was a big time, and it was really nice to get out on the water. First time I've had the chance to take Jim. Jim's taken me 5 or 6 times, so we got a chance to go out and do that. It was a lot of fun. So,
Tell them about the one that got away though.
the smoker, yeah, the one that smoked it, the last one we called him the dead stick. I would have probably been way overstocked, and I will give you this tip. When we got back to the cockroach ramp, there were 2 gentlemen with a real nice looking shirts on it. On the back of it said FWC. We heard these words, "Sir, that's only 27.25 inches." And the guy says, "Well, to be truthful, sir, we found that dead in the water." I don't think it worked. I just don't. But it was what, 3/4 of an inch shot. It probably cost him what, $200, Mike?
I don't stop and talk to him.
Go the other way.
Runs the other way. Anybody else have any fishing stories? Been out fishing? Yes, sir, Mr. Mahoney.
Went out yesterday, it seems like the magic number 90 to 105 feet, lots of red grouper. The bite for us yesterday was a little different, you know, we had hit them real hard and then they just shut off, had to keep hitting different spots, don't just sit in one area. You got a full moon Saturday night, so it seems to me like fish are always hard to catch on full moon. Last week I went out with Marquette, we went all around Tarpon Key, we caught several trout over 30 inches, redfish, snook, really everywhere. Every island over in Fort DeSoto has a cut to it on one side or the other. You get on that deep cut. He prefers more of incoming to a high tide, so you can get in there and you don't get caught. You know, get in there and the water goes out and you're all of a sudden high and dry. That's what these full moons will do if you don't read the tides right. As far as crabs for the permit, I got some buddies going to Glenn's house tonight to get some. So we'll have
Anybody else? I know you guys been fishing. Yes, Mr. Margaret.
We did our annual spring break fishing camp at E.G. Simmons for the Parks Department. We had 35 kids that pretty much showed up every day, and we fished. And we didn't do it was very warm during spring break this year, and fishing was a little bit unique at the park. But we did get some small trout and small redfish and your typical jug fishing area. But the kids were catching fish and having a good time. That's what it's all about. I guess the most unique catches, we were catching these Atlantic spade fish around the boat ramp, and those things, they're fun. The kids are having a blast. They would catch them, they give a good tug and a good bite, so they were having a good time with that. And took them out on Hubbard's that Thursday, loaded up on gray snapper, and caught a couple of hogfish on that trip, and the kids had a great time there. And it was just me and my coworker Heather with 35 over a week, 7:30 to 6. It was a long week, but we got going. Getting ready for summer now. Summer registration for fish camp will be May 4th. It's all online, starting at 12 noon. We'll be running 4 fishing camps out of E.G. Simmons and 4 fishing camps out of Upper Tampa Bay Park on the other side of town. It's a 2-week camp. We'll do the deep sea fishing with Hubbard's, and we'll be doing a lot of kayaking. And we just lined up with the new place in Apollo Beach where the kids will be doing some kayak fishing out of there. And then the park stuff and all the captains and guides that are coming out. I was hoping Billy was here so I could put him on my schedule.
Me too.
All right, I got the schedule on the truck, so we have to. But I'll shoot
Me
you.
too.
But we got a lot of the guys that come out and sort of share their expertise. Joel knows he's one of my participants, and it's a pretty good camp, and it seems to get better every year. We try something a little bit new, something different. But the big thing is the cost. It's $120 for 2 weeks of camp, and that's Monday through Friday. No weekends, of course. So it's a great deal. We get them outside. That's the whole thing of the camp is getting the kids back outside. And there's so much technology now to keep the kids indoors. So my biggest compliment has been an old school camp. Get outside, get dirty, sweat a little bit, and go home tired. This is what camp's all about. So it's on. Like I said, I had limited space. Last year we filled up in 7 days for all the camps. So I'm expecting that to happen again. And David's son has attended, and we've had some good times out there. So anybody's interested, hillsborocounty.org is website/parks. And anybody want to get involved or make a donation to help out with the camps, I'm very open to anything. We got Pig Slave Barbecue donating 4 barbecues, the Fish House at Ruskin's donating 4 fish fries. We got other things happening too, so we make it fun. We not only fish them, but we feed them too every now and then. So that's what I got. And I haven't fished at all, so it's no time right now. I will plan to get out there this next weekend, so that's all I got.
Awesome. You been fishing back there? How's your dad?
My dad's doing all right, thanks for asking. But yeah, I've been fishing, and actually I've been doing it kind of differently this year. I've been getting out of the boat altogether, either the powerboat or the kayak, and doing a lot of wade fishing. And these redfish, it was about 3 weeks ago, in that gin clear water, they're real spooky, but I was seeing 50, schools of 50 fish, and we were pulling out 30-inch reds. And the thing that I found out, I'm relatively tall, I ended up cutting down my profile. I actually got down to my knees, so I was fishing like this. debating whether to get one of these, what is it, Stratic FJ
Yeah.
1000. I'm like, hey, let's try that one. That thing's, it's money. Right now, it's money.
Yeah,
And I
and
don't
it's,
get on the first trip, you know, here I am taking video. Went underwater immediately. I'm like, well, let's see how long this
They hold up real good too.
Yeah, we're about to find out.
How do you cast on the knees like that?
You gotta get, you just get like this and you're just casting. You know, I'm not fly fishing. I'm just, actually, I was throwing sideways. I was getting like this.
1 foot of water.
That's dedicated. He's sidearming it.
They see, if you're standing like this and you're casting, they see that rod. So you
Twin
gotta go
towers.
sideways, so they don't see the rod. And on top of that, they see my profile and they're like, as soon as I mean, I could stand like this. I literally was casting like this. They probably at that table, I was just going like this. And I couldn't get it because it didn't take off. Because they see just the slightest movement,